Are you buying your first home, but you're wondering whether you should buy a single family home or a townhouse? Is there even a difference? Stay tuned to find out. What's going on, guys? Brandon here, aka your favorite Minnesota realtor, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between single family home versus a townhouse. Now, I get this question all the time, people trying to figure out what the actual difference is and which one is going to be the best option for them and their families. Now, to answer that latter question, the one that's really going to be the best for you and your family is going to be largely determined by you, what it is you're looking for in a home and your specific situation. So in this video, we'll talk about some of the pros and cons of both single family homes and townhouses. But to start, let's talk about what the actual difference is between the two. All right, so when talking about the differences between a single family home and a townhouse, let's start off with the single family home. So with the single family home, it's typically a detached home. So meaning you're not sharing any walls with anybody. It's a standalone house by itself. And with home ownership or with a single family home, you're typically going to be responsible for every single thing involving that house. So what I mean is if the roof starts leaking, you're going to have to repair the roof. If you get a big hailstorm and messes up the siding, you're going to have to replace that, the plumbing, the electrical. Every single thing that has to do with that house is your responsibility. Now, with a townhouse, it's a little bit different than a single family home in the sense to where a townhouse is more like a blend between a single family home and apartment living, in the sense that typically with most townhomes, you're responsible for everything inside of the home. So if the furnace breaks down, if you need new windows, things like that, you will have to replace those as the homeowner. But typically on the exterior of the home, so like if that hailstorm came through, the siding needed to be replaced, that would be something that would be fixed by the HOA or Homeowners Association for short. Now, the biggest benefit with townhouses is that you pay that monthly HOA fee, and the HOA covers those things. So, like the exterior of the home, they may do like lawn service and trash removal, shovel your driveway, and things like that. So, again, a townhouse is kind of like a hybrid of apartment living and single family home living. All right, so now let's talk about some of the pros for both single family homes and townhouses. Now, before I get started with this pros list, I just want to make sure you guys know that this is not an all-inclusive list of all of the pros between both of these types of housing. This is just meant to give you a general overview, a general idea of what some of the differences are between the two. So starting off with single family homes, one of the biggest benefits of having a single family home is that you have more privacy. Now, when I say privacy, I mean like a yard. Typically with townhouses, you're not going to have a yard. You may have some kind of like shared space to where you can use if you want to have people over and have, a grill outside and things like that. But if you have small kids or a dog that likes to run around or something like that, you probably want like a fenced in yard, give you guys some more privacy. And that's where a single family home is really going to outshine a townhouse. Another one is that you don't really have to share walls, or you don't have to share walls with a single family house like most townhomes. So, like I said before, a townhouse is kind of like a blend between single family homes and apartment living. And we all know with apartment living, you have neighbors all around you. Same thing with a townhouse, but not so much with a single family home because it's a detached home. So again, giving you guys some more privacy, you don't have to deal with as much noise and things like that. Another big benefit of single family homes is that they generally appreciate faster in value than townhouses do. So if you bought a townhouse in the same area as a single family home, those single family homes are going to increase in value a lot faster than those townhouses do or will. And then the biggest one is that there are generally no HOA payments that have to be made with a single family home. Now, the only time this will make a little bit of a difference is that, so like some of the newer construction, the newer developments that you may see popping up that have like the activity centers and the pools and stuff like that, those will typically have a homeowners association where you have to pay, but it's not going to be monthly. Usually it's like quarterly or even annually that you pay those. And they're a lot cheaper than a normal townhouse association would be. So for the sake of this video, single family homes don't have HOAs, but again, we know that there are some different circumstances to that. All right, now to talk about some of the pros of a townhouse. One of the biggest pros over a single family home is that the HOA typically will pay for things like the lawn care, so mowing the lawn, they trim the trees, they shovel your driveway, pay for trash and things like that. Whereas with a single family home, you're responsible for all of that. So in a townhouse, you typically don't have to worry about shoveling your driveway after a heavy snow. You just sit there and wait for the association to do it. So basically, if you're someone who is kind of in that middle, like you do like the apartment living, but you also want to get equity and buy your own house, have your own stuff, a townhouse is going to be the best of both worlds when it comes to that. With the townhouse, it's almost like a little community because you have more neighbors around you. And again, you kind of have that apartment living, but with the benefits of homeownership. You don't have to worry about exterior fixes like the roof and the siding, which can typically be one of the biggest expenses that you can have with homeownership. So, for instance, if a hailstorm came through and messed up the siding and messed up the roof, you had a leaky roof, had to get that replaced, typically that's something that the HOA is going to be responsible for, and you don't have to worry about it. And then lastly, they're typically cheaper than single family homes. Now, depending on the area, there are some townhomes that can be about the same price as a single family home in another area. But again, that just depends on the area that you're in. But for the sake of this video, typically townhouses are going to be cheaper than single family homes. All right, now that we've talked about all of the good between the single family homes and the townhouses, let's talk about the bad. Well, not necessarily bad, let's just talk about the cons. So starting with single family homes, one of the biggest cons with single family home versus a townhouse is that there is going to be maintenance. Now, with the single family home, you are responsible for everything that involves that house. So whether it be the roof, the siding, the furnace, the plumbing, the electrical, whatever happens in that home, you are fully responsible for and you will have to pay to get fixed. Overall, it's just more responsibility. I mean, you have a lot more things that you need to worry about and plan for when it comes to having a single family home. So again, it's good to have some kind of savings account set aside to where you're putting money away just in case something like that pops up, because it's not going to be something that you'll be able to call somebody to have them come out and fix it. It's going to be your responsibility. And then lastly, most single family homes will typically cost more than a townhome in that same area. So if you're looking to get into a specific city or a specific area, school district, and you're looking at a single family home versus a townhome, then you can expect to pay a little bit more upfront in order to get into that area if you're buying a single family home. Now, talking about the cons of a townhouse. Now, probably the biggest con there is when it comes to a townhome is the HOA dues. Now, I look at the HOA dues as kind of like a double-edged sword, because in the one sense, you don't have to worry about shoveling your driveway, you don't have to worry about mowing the lawn and all that other stuff that the HOA takes care of. But those HOA dues can be costly, especially depending on the area that you're in, because they do typically go up every single year. So you have to monitor that and make sure that you're budgeting for those increases as well. Now, another thing with HOA dues is that they never go away. So even if your house is 100% paid off, you will be paying those HOA dues until you die. Another con with townhomes is that they can be restrictive somewhat depending on what it is you are looking to do with the home. So again, going back to that HDTV analogy, if you're somebody who wants to come in and break down the walls and do all that stuff, you're probably not going to want a townhouse, because those HOAs or homeowners associations decide the rules and regulations in that association. So for instance, some of them may have a pet restriction, so how many dogs you can have, how much they can weigh. Some of them even have breed restrictions, so make sure to read those things before you decide to buy a townhouse in a certain community, because you really want to know those things up front. Sharing walls. So again, it is a combination of single family home life versus apartment living, and if that's something that you're into, that's a good thing. But if you're worried about noisy neighbors, hearing them through the walls or hearing their TV and surround sound, townhouse may not be for you. That is a potential con. And then lastly, not having a yard. So again, if you have small kids or maybe you have a dog that needs to run around, get some exercise, townhouse probably isn't going to be for you just because, again, there really isn't any private outdoor space. Now, a lot of townhouse associations will have like maybe like a shared space or a courtyard or something like that. But you really probably don't want your dog out there without a leash or have your kids running around there. So that's another potential con of townhouses. So now that we got those out of the way, let's talk about which option works best for you. If you're someone that hates yard work or shoveling, or maybe you want that community feel of apartment living with the added benefits of homeownership, then maybe a townhouse is for you. But on the other hand, if you're someone who wants to come in and gut the whole house and do a complete remodel, or maybe you have pets that need a yard to run around in and get some exercise, do you like to blast Taylor Swift on your Bose speakers while you clean the house? Well, then maybe a single family home is the one for you. And that is it for today's video. Keep in mind that, again, this is just a general list of some of the pros and cons for each, but this is not an all-inclusive list. If you guys want to know which one is best for you and your family, whether it be a single family home or a townhouse, feel free to reach out anytime and we can discuss your options and what your specific situation is. But in the meantime, if you guys found this video useful, please make sure to hit the like button below and also hit the subscribe button just in case you want to know more about videos such as this in the future. And again, this is Brandon, aka your favorite Minnesota realtor, and I will see you in the next video.